Hello folks, welcome to the studio. These are our 5 favourite retro full face helmets for this year. Now we've got loads in this category, it's hard to narrow it down. Importantly though, all of the helmets in front of me meet the new ECE 2206 safety standards. We've got lots to get through, let's get started. Now, when I mention ECE 2206 safety standards, I should expand a little bit and say that these are the safety standards for helmets for Europe. It was ECE 2205, they update them every few years, so it's ECE 2206 moving forward from 2024. These new standards are stricter, they have improvements across the board, they now test a wider variety of impact zones across the entire helmet. They take into account a variety of different speeds, and they have an oblique test where the helmet hits an angle and they measure rotational forces. They more closely mimic real world conditions and definitely make motorcycle helmets safer, so it is a good thing. There are a couple of changes to the helmets that meet these new standards as a result that you'll notice. Typically speaking, across the board they are slightly larger, slightly heavier, although it is only marginal, and they are slightly more expensive to produce. That is generally true, but there are some exceptions, and I'll explain as we go through. Let's start with a brand new design then, the HJC V10 in front of me, which has quite an aggressive look, or at least that's my interpretation of it. And I would say cosmetically, it's a bit of a hybrid between the ARAI Concept XE, which I'll get onto in a moment, and the likes of the BILTWELL lane splitter, for example, I think specifically in the chin bar. Either way, I really like the look of this. These have a starting price of £259.99, which I think is a bit of a bargain considering what you're getting out of this. And I think we have them in 9 colours at the moment. I'm sure we'll get more in the future. The most extravagant of them are either the Tammy colourways or the grape colourways like the one I have here. It uses a fiberglass composite shell. They also make the shell in 3 different shell sizes, and medium and large are actually grouped together, which is great news because medium and large are the more common sizes, but the shell size remains the same, so they both look quite slimline. It has some really functional venting throughout, so you will notice vents at your brows there. You've also got vents obviously on the chin. Both of these are closable if you do want to block the air out. I have to admit though, I would like to see exit vents at the reverse, which you'll find on some of the other competitors, and I will explain those as we go through. You also get a removable chin curtain on the bottom. If you do want more airflow, you can take that out. You will notice emergency tabs, which is useful. You'll find that across a lot of these helmets as well. A double D-ring closure system, and you have got pockets for an intercom system. You will also notice down here, you can get a Senna specific intercom system that pairs specifically with this helmet, and that's quite useful. It also has a really solid visor, and that's one of my favorite points about this, the quality of the visor and the ease of which to change those visors. You can get a tinted visor for any of these helmets on the table, in fact, but this is by far and away the easiest one to change visors on because you have this system on the left and right, obviously, that does not require tools. You can do this on the fly whilst you're out and about. If you're wondering about sizing, these do have a pretty universal fit, but I will explain a little bit more about sizing at the very end. Let's move on. Moving on to a familiar face, but an unfamiliar name, in as much as this is the ARAI Concept XE, formerly the ARAI Rapide, which I actually own for myself. Now, I said at the start that most helmets that meet these new standards are slightly bigger, slightly heavier and more expensive, and there are some exceptions to the rule. This is definitely one of them because this actually fits the same as the previous version. It is the same weight as the previous version, and it's actually the same price as the previous version as well. It's £459.99 as of the making of this video. The only significant difference is that it is ever so slightly larger than the previous version, but not by a huge amount. You can get this in a few different colours. The most eye-catching and the nicest of them, let's be honest, are either the React Blue, my personal favourite, or the Bacca Green. Actually looks quite good as well. Visually, it has a really round profile. It looks typically like an ARAI. They definitely have their own distinct style. And again, it's got this squared off chin similar to the HJC. It's made using a peripherally belted E-complex laminate construction, and it has a multi-fibre and resin shell. ARAI tend to go for the harder shell approach, with the EPS liner taking up the impact and deforming on the inside rather than the shell on the outside. They also make this in 3 different shell sizes, and as well as being ECE 2206 safety standard approved, it also has an ACU sticker on it as well. If I had to pick up a negative, and I would be hunting with this helmet, I would say in comparison, especially to the HJC, the visor mechanism on this is a little bit more fiddly, and it definitely is a lot more fiddly to change visors. It is something you get used to, and you only do it maybe every 6 months or so, but you can still get tinted visors for this if you want. What I will say massively in the ARAI's favor though is that the venting is excellent. You have a closable chin vent, you also have these vents on your brow that direct air over the top of the helmet, and you do have exhaust vents at the reverse this time. And of course it does come with pin lock included for that visor. Again, you have a double D-ring closure system around your neck, you have emergency tabs for the emergency services, and you have their facial contour system with the cheek pieces, which really does help with fit, and this has one of the most universal fits you'll find on this table. You can also change the cheek pieces, obviously, if you need, but they definitely help it hug in around your face, and it doesn't need as long to break in to get comfortable. And of course, you have pockets on the inside if you do want to fit an intercom system. This helmet is the BYCITY Rider motorcycle helmet, and this definitely has quite a few different USPs. The first of which being the incredible value for money. This is the most affordable helmet here. It's £199 as of the making of this video. Now, an aspect I probably wouldn't class as its biggest strength are the variety of colours. You only have a few, 3 in fact, and they are pretty basic, but they do still look quite good, and it's got a good level of finish throughout. They make it using a fiberglass shell. It has 2 different shell sizes, and it's one of the lighter helmets you'll find at this table as well. I believe it's listed at around 1,400 grams, but it is really quite light to handle. Probably the most unique thing about this helmet is that it actually comes with a peak, which you can take off if you want to. It comes included. You basically just fasten it around the visor on these sides. It's got a similar kind of mechanism actually to the ARAI in terms of actually getting this off. It comes with Allen keys included, and you can attach that peak, which definitely changes the look. It has some function as well, in as much as keeping the sun and the glare out of your eyes, and possibly makes it a bit of a hybrid actually, looking somewhat like a Scrambler style motorcycle helmet. Now, we actually have a top 5 if you do want to lean a little bit more into the Scrambler style motorcycle helmets. I will drop that in the description as well if you want to check out some alternatives for a full face helmet. The visor mechanism is pretty smooth, really nice and easy to use, and something else you'll quite like about this is that you have tabs on both sides, so you can use either hand to pop that visor up. And it is pin lock ready, but it doesn't come with pin lock included. I would recommend getting pin lock because of course you don't want your visor too mist up. You will notice a decent amount of ventilation across it as well. You have a closable vent on your chin. You also have a vent at your brow there that you can open or close. And again, you have exit vents at the reverse. You will find a double D-ring closure system around your neck. You have a chin curtain which you can remove. And again, you have pockets for an intercom system if you want to fit one. Moving on. This one's always been one of my favourites. It's the new ECE 2206 approved SHOEI GLAMSTER, still looking just as good, still just as low profile and just as lightweight. These have a starting price of £449.99 and they have a variety of colours, some quite strong choices. This one here, for example, is one of the bivouac colourways. They have some quite eye-catching designs and they will be bringing out more in the future. This one is slightly bigger than its predecessor, although it is a tiny amount. And I believe it is slightly heavier as well. I think it's 100 grams heavier, although it is still really lightweight, and I think the lightest on this table if the label on the back is to be believed. And like the ARAI, this is also ACU approved. It's made using a 5-layered AIM shell and uses a mixture of composite and organic fibers, and it's available in 3 different shell sizes. It has some very functional venting across it. You have got a vent at your brow there that you can open or close, and you do have exit vents around your neckline. Now you also have vents around your chin. You cannot close those, but they're not directly in front of your face, so it's less of a problem, although it is always nice to be able to open or close those if you can. Again, you can get a tinted visor for this, and it is fairly simple to change the visor. You do need a Phillips head screwdriver, but it's still quick and easy to do, and it comes with pin lock included. On the bottom, you will notice another double D-ring closure system around your neck. You have emergency tabs in there. You've got a really comfortable liner. You can see how open it is as well. Lots of airflow going through there. And again, you have pockets for an intercom system if you want to fit one. Last but by no means least, we have the very eye-catching, brand new BILTWELL GRINGO SV. Now, if you like this helmet, but you want to look at something even more affordable, you might want to look at the GRINGO S as well, which has made a return, both of which pass ECE 2206 safety standards. The GRINGO SV is available for £249, and we have this in a variety of different colour options, some very eye-catching, and I would say they've gone for the most eye-catching colour choices this time around, and they definitely will bring out more in the future. It is something they do very well. This one, for example, has a really pleasing metallic finish to it. BILTWELL are widely sought after because of the simplicity of their designs, the minimal branding across this throughout. All you have is a small BILTWELL logo on your brow there, for example, and the same is true of the GRINGO S. This one a little bit more eye-catching in design, in as much as you have these vents around the front, similar to the SHOEI. These are non-closable, but they are at the sides of the helmet, not at the front, directly in front of your face. And you have brow vents as well, which you can open or close. They make it using an ABS shell. It also comes in 3 different shell sizes. On the bottom, you'll notice again, we have a double D-ring closure system. You have recesses around your ears if you do want to fit an intercom system. There are pockets to do so. It is, however, the only helmet on this table not to have quick release tabs for the cheek pieces, but you can still remove the liner if you want to wash it. One of the most obvious improvements that I found over previous Gringos is the quality of the visor, specifically the mechanism. It holds itself much more solidly in place as you're moving it around now. It's just much nicer to interact with, and still really easy to change if you do want to go for a tinted visor instead. It does not come with pin lock, but it is at least anti-fog and anti-scratch. To circle back to sizing, the BILTWELL is actually not a bad place to start because it has a relatively narrow opening on the bottom, certainly narrower than the rest of the helmets on this table, so it is a bit of a snug fit, but once you're in there, it is an accurate size. And that's true of all of these helmets on the table. They are an accurate size. You can measure your head size and use our size guide on the website, or drop a question in the comment section if you have any. When it comes to head shapes though, that's a little bit more subjective. There is a spectrum ranging from round fitting heads, intermediate oval, or an oval fitting head. Now, if you're somewhere in the middle, as most people are, I would include myself, with what you describe as an intermediate oval fitting head, where it's slightly longer than it is wide, you'll be fine with any of these helmets in the right size. But if you know you're on the extreme either end and you have a particularly round fitting head, I would urge you towards either the BILTWELL or the BYCITY, or if you have a particularly oval fitting head, then I would urge you towards the SHOEI or HJC. For everyone else, it doesn't really matter which helmet you choose, they'll fit you fine as long as you choose the right size. And there you go, those are our 5 favorite retro full face motorcycle helmets, and it's a huge category, ever expanding. There's loads of helmets in there that we weren't able to mention in this review that we definitely do still like. And although these are the helmets that currently meet the ECE 2206 safety standards, we'll definitely be getting some updates and new versions in the future. So if you want to stay tuned and see all the latest helmets coming out, then follow us on Instagram and on YouTube, and I'll see you soon. Bye.